Hello friends, welcome back to another episode of Soviet SimCity. I'm your host, Mr. Squiggs. We're looking at our starter town of Bahia Nova and the development that's going on there. Last episode, we finally got some agriculture industry set up, food and alcohol, and I did move some more population, some people from adjacent towns into this city, so it is now the largest on the map. We're sitting at around 1,700 residents right now, and hopefully that'll increase. Hopefully that'll increase naturally, and people won't run away or die into huge numbers. We do have some more construction that we're waiting on, mostly roads and footpaths. And I do notice with some of these smaller projects, when it's a smaller segment of a road or footpath, the construction office doesn't always send machinery. Sometimes it sends workers. But if it's not a high priority, bigger construction projects will get the workers first. So often I have to switch those to high priority to get workers sent there at all, which is not ideal. I don't want to be taking them away from bigger projects, but at the same time, once resources show up, there's usually a truck full of resources waiting there doing nothing. So there we go. Okay, research finished. What is it going to be? We just researched some fertilizer. Hopefully that'll give a boost to our new agriculture industry. I'm thinking metallurgy or geology, because we will want to produce some resources. We will want to mine some coal and iron to really become an industrial nation here. If we don't do that, we're arguably not industrialized at this point in the early 60s. So just checking on all the service buildings, seeing if they're efficient. The pools, I'm loath to reduce the number of workers, even though they seem a bit underused, just because that affects this rating. I think it affects the quality that the users get. Nobody wants to play outside. Interesting. I do need more in the shops. Fine. Okay. So I think I might crank up the speed here. Alright, so I might just take another peek at population statistics, just to get ahead of any trends before anything bad happens. And this is looking good already. So we do seem to have a critical mass. We do seem to have a slightly increasing population naturally. And yes, this shows, the educated citizens one's a really good example. And there we go. No education, that's fine, because that could be babies. And there we go. People are able to get electronics from the shop. That should make them happy. Births, we've had a few. There we go. So wow. So that's a good news story. We're only 4 months into 1964, and we've had almost as many births as we had last year. Deaths do seem to be on the rise a little, which is a bit of a concern, but we're going to have to wait and see. We don't have enough data. I just wanted to make sure that the population wasn't crashing already, and that the people I brought in are not all fleeing yet. Okay, so we might take another quick peek at the statistics. Sitting at 2,000 people here in Bahia Nova. But it looks like last month there was a bit of a dip in the population. I wonder why that is. Babies are holding steady. Children are on the rise. It's adults that we lost some of. Let's see year to date. Yeah, year to date we've shed a few people. And that's interesting. The births are holding steady. The birth rate's good, and it's superior to the death rate. But it looks like not always. Year to date, it's not strictly superior to deaths plus escapes. So something's going on. We'll try to figure it out. It's not a crisis right now. I assume health is just too low. so I might take another quick look at the finances, seeing as we don't have tons of money. See, so we're not totally breaking even. Last month we spent 23,000, almost 24,000, but our exports were only worth 14 grand. Now 10 of that import is vehicle fuel, but most of the rest is sort of optional spending related to our construction. I think the number 2 line item was asphalt. Let's look at the all-time. Okay, so yeah, our exports are increasing a lot. Most of our exports are in this year, and it's really not looking too bad. We're looking at somewhere in the region of 150,000 rubles worth year to date. So I think if we really run into terrible hardship, we can survive on our exports already. But you may have noticed me moving yet more immigrants into the town just because I want to be running these factories as much as we can. All the grain we're producing ideally should become products that can be exported and make us some cash. Okay, I'm thinking it's time to check in again on some of the stats. We'll look locally in town. I think our population's falling a bit, and I'm not liking that happiness remains so low at 50%. Notably, alcohol and government loyalty are the lowest things there. Alcohol, not too worried about because that stays low as long as people have other things to do. The government loyalty is a bit of a question mark. Okay, yeah, no, our population's kind of crashing. It is winter, We do tend to get some more deaths and escapes in the winter. But yeah, this year our population's about flat. We have as many deaths and escapes as we do births, and those escapes are really those escapes are spiking here in December. Interesting, and not in a good way. I wonder what to do about this. I'm thinking right off the bat I need to improve government loyalty, because in town it's 22 and the nationwide average is 38. So somehow in this town where I have given people services, they are less loyal than they are in all the static towns on the map. And that is striking me as the only thing I haven't built yet. So I think low government loyalty is also impacting the happiness. Yeah, that's my guess so far. Because I look at that. Health and satiation, very high if I just take a random house. Most scores are decent, and we don't know the government loyalty. So I'm assuming that's too low, and that is impacting their happiness. I guess we better build some monuments and maybe, I don't know, something to improve the loyalty. Alright, so I'm just going to take another look at the population. I think it's shrinking, and I don't know why. And I want to keep it topped up, so I'm going to move in some more workers. And to be honest, I'm biting my nails here, and I'm wondering if people are doomed to leave. You may have seen I was just building a new hospital, a new heating plant, because I think wintertime health is lagging, and maybe this infrastructure will help. We really need to understand what's going on here. So let's just take a quick look at sort of our all-time happiness value. It's not looking great. Let's go to just this year to date. See, so we kind of had a happiness crash. It is now, last year into this year, we had a big drop in happiness. It is improving now, but not where we were, say, 2 years ago yet. So that would explain why people are fleeing. All-time deaths and escapes are at least 3 times more than all-time births. So, not the most optimistic picture, but if that current trend of happiness continues to be positive, then we could be back to a stable population eventually. But this is a mystery, and happiness is kind of an aggregate of many other needs. So I might look in more detail here and see, try to figure out what's causing this. Unfortunately, we don't get charts like this from the city halls. I wish I could see this chart just for Bahia Nova. So this is in fact the average of Bahia Nova and the rest of the country. So even though this fall in happiness is pretty dramatic, I'm actually betting that it's worse in Bahia Nova, because this is an average that is being moderated by the majority of the map where nothing's going on. And the happiness value should be static, constant, right? So, worrisome. But we might look at some of these components in greater detail. There's also, some of these it will tell us. It will tell us what the food and healthcare satiation is. It won't tell us how happy they are with the heating quality, for example. And one of my suspect issues was that my small first coal plant is just too small and weak and was overwhelmed, and also was only in one part of town. Right, so I was suspicious that was leading to some of this unhappiness. Anyway, happiness is complex, and we have to keep trying things out to figure out what's going on. But each one of these things could be higher. Food satiation at 76, there's no reason, if our shops are adequate and our services are adequate, that couldn't be in the 90s. The healthcare average seems okay, but again, ideally that would be a bit closer to 90, which is one of the reasons I built another hospital. Same thing with the heating plant. My clinic is not central enough. It's too close to just one edge and maybe too small. So I wanted to make sure that people had access. That's a big thing about this from a city planning perspective. We're not just building a factory that needs to have capacity. We're building a community where everybody needs access to the services. Same thing with government loyalty. I've been plopping down some monuments, and the monuments only affect 100 meters around them. So, I need to kind of pepper them around to actually have an impact on government loyalty. But yeah, entertainment quality, I think that will very slowly trend upwards with time. Same thing with sports and clothing. But let's take a look at the deaths. See, that's no good. For a while we were trending down until 1964. So something happened with our health, the health of our population, to cause a big spike in deaths. I do notice that year to date it's a bit lower, but we're only halfway through the year. Right, okay, so people have definitely been fleeing. The university educated people peaked around January of this year, and they've been fleeing ever since. So that's not so nice. We do still have a lot more of them before, so we're not in any immediate danger. We should have a lot of doctors and teachers still, for example. but it's an indicator that all is not well. Let's also now take a look at the financial picture here. Okay. Yeah, we do have some debt here, but only about 15,000 rubles. So we have come back from our higher debt days. Let's take a look at some of the numbers in detail. Let's look at this year to date, to August. We've got about 73,000 in exports in the year to date, and that's really good. That should be covering most of our imports. If we look at what we're importing, there we go. Our top import is steel. That we don't need to eat that. That's purely for construction. Vehicle fuel is 35,000, right? And that's our second biggest line item. Electronics 15. If we look at meat, that's 9. So, when we're not doing construction, we definitely have a trade surplus.
Tenta a pica dos cria. Tenta a pica dos cria. Tenta a pica dos cria. Tenta a pica dos cria.
So let's keep obsessively checking the stats here, just to see with time if anything's going by. Okay, so we can see that decline is flattening out of educated workers year to date. And if we look a bit further back, you can see that as well, that we were dropping faster and now the line's flat. So I think we may have gotten out of the hole. And I didn't mention it, but we did have a period in which maybe our food distribution was to blame, the food satiation. If you go back about a year, it was over 80, and now it's only mid-70s. So I think we had a bit of a food crisis that scared a bunch of people away. And as long as it just takes a long time to recover from things like that, but as long as we don't have a crisis, we should be okay. And let's do one last quick check here of our stats. Okay, happiness zooming back up. Same with food satiation. Government loyalty is up a little bit. So yeah, okay, I think we're going to survive. And I think we're back on a good trajectory. All right, folks, continuing to do some roads and paths to try and improve access in the town, but the trajectory is looking positive again, so I think all we need to do is wait a little while and the town will recover. But yeah, that's gonna be about it for this episode. It was a bit of a thrill ride for those of you concerned with the outcome of the town. I will apologize for the quality of the footage. It's not just YouTube. I was changing settings around while making this episode, and that did lead to some inconsistent quality, but I think I've figured out the proper settings for everything, so we should be back to normal in the next episode. Thanks for watching. I'm Mr. Squiggs.